Hi, I'm Emily Johnson, and today I'm speaking with Peter Paul Basler and Jeff Schubert about the film The Pragmatist, which will be screening at the Valley Film Festival this year. Peter Paul Basler is the director, Jeff Schubert is the writer, and welcome, you guys. Thank you for sitting down and doing this.
Awesome, thanks for having us.
It's good to be here.
So first, I just want to give the audience a sense of what The Pragmatist is about. Do you guys have like an elevator pitch to give us a sense of the film?
Absolutely, and I'll take a quick moment and just say that it was inspired by, my fondness for the vigilante, kind of anti-hero genre, shows like Dexter, Arrow, The Blacklist. So I wanted to put kind of my spin on it. So I created this pilot presentation piece, which is also a short film, which is about David Friend, the pragmatist, who is an ex-special forces badass, who is betrayed by the system and comes back to kind of put the wrong things right and be kind of like this anti-hero that helps people. But then he gets on the CIA's radar and they want to kind of recruit him. So there's this cat and mouse between, our pragmatist and the CIA and who's going to get the best of who. And we see it play out a little bit in the pilot, or The Pragmatist, our short film that's going to be at the Valley Film Festival, but then we hope it springboards into a full-on series.
That sounds awesome. Is it action, adventure, spy, action comedy? Like, what's the genre?
Action drama.
Action drama. Excellent. All right. Well, I'd like you each to talk about your role in the film, what the creative process was like how did you guys find each other, just from beginning to end, in 2 minutes or less.
Beginning to end is design. When I wrote it, there were two things that I wanted to have happen after I finished the first draft. I wanted to get Jack Maxwell, who's been a buddy of mine for years, interested in playing the star. I kind of wrote it for him. He's a brilliant actor. And then I wanted to get Peter Paul Basler interested in it to be the director. I said, if I can get those two things, this is going to be real. And I'm also a producer on it. And I would, go for it and go for it. And those two guys were both super interested in it. I mean, at some point I say, they became more interested in it than I was. They were really pushing, and it was great. I know Peter Paul from working together on a live web show called Film Nut about the making, marketing, and distribution of film, TV, and new media, where I was the host and Peter was the producer who helped book guests and really help launch the show with his ability to get us some good name talent on our show. And yeah, that's from me. Peter, go ahead.
Well, Emily, now I'll give you the real story. No, okay, so I've known Jeff forever. It feels like I've known him since I first came to Los Angeles in the middle 2000s. And Jeff, we had a series of table reads, and that's the first time that I was introduced to The Pragmatist. And it is true, because I think coming out of that, there was something in that original version, which is pretty similar to what we ended up shooting. I don't think it veered off too much, that I really enjoyed and I was super excited about. And Jeff was kind of, I mean, you always like your own stuff, but he was like, are you sure? He had that kind of reaction, right? And then he brought it to Jack, and Jack really dug it and was really into it as well. And so Jack and I became kind of cheerleaders to get Jeff excited. And then we decided, let's go out and raise awareness and crowdfund and get a cast together and launch it in, when did we shoot this, in 2019, 2020?
Yeah.
2019, yeah, right before the pandemic. And that's how we got to start.
And what's it been doing since the shutdown?
Well, we were able to finish it during the shutdown. And as a creative person, I really was happy to have something to work on when there were those long, repetitive days. And some of the post was a little tricky. At the height of lockdowns, like sort of getting actors together to try to do ADR and stuff. We were kind of bringing microphones around and doing Zoom calls like this to try to walk through how to make a microphone work, and doing sort of wild lines. It wasn't like the most professional, but we got it done. And there was a lot of people in town, VFX wise and stuff, that were kind of, weren't working as much because things had hit a slow point. So that was fun, and got to call in a lot of favors. And we did a cast and crew screening on Zoom, with which, as you know, whoever had their better 5G phone got to see it crystal clear. And then if you had somebody else on on Netflix in the other room. You watched it in kind of a muddy version. But we were able to kind of get everyone together and celebrate the film. And this is the first big screen. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. The first big screening of at the Valley Film Festival for The Pragmatist.
Correct. It's the and it's definitely the LA premiere for sure. So the idea is to springboard it from here. And basically our festival run, and we've gotten into some smaller festivals, some online festivals. But yeah, by the end of the year, it'll then be time to take all those festival accolades and try to get some pitch meetings and, springboard into that TV series. I wrote a pitch deck for it, and I've got 5 seasons kind of outlined in terms of where it can go.
Excellent. So you're both in LA?
Yes.
Yeah, and you both get to be there?
Yes.
In the 818.
In the 818.
Right.
Well, of course, yeah. But there's a oh, that's fantastic. So, well, Jeff, like as the writer of this, you envisioned it, but the writing often translate differently onto screen. Did you guys work together? Were there any parts of the film or the pilot that surprised you? Like, did it all go according to plan?
Oh, right. I mean, pretty close. I mean, Peter and Jack, gave some really good notes, to develop the script a little bit further along the way. And, I was on set. I play a small role as a small actor in it. And
never any small roles, Jeff. Never any small roles.
That's right. Only small actors. But and Peter and I, again, because we've known each other for so long, I tried not to abuse it, but on set I'd be like, hey, can you ask the actor to do it this way on this next take? And Peter would be like, sure, Jeff, and so it was fun.
But is that the take that got kept?
Yeah, right. He was just humoring me. None of those.
Just like, do it for the writer.
Emily, you're gonna make this whole project fall apart before you get to the premiere. Come on.
But you're on Zoom. You can't throw chairs at each other.
That's true. That's true.
No, it was good. And it was fun because, and another one of the actresses, I mentioned that show Film Nut that Peter and I worked on together. One of the other lead actresses was an actress who I'd interviewed on Film Nut. And it was great to bring her on board. That's Adrienne Wilkinson, who maybe is most known for her role on Xena Warrior Princess as Xena's daughter, but she also has a lot of other great credits. And it was great. I hadn't seen her since I interviewed her. And it was fantastic. It was great. She was like, oh my God, you look exactly the same. It was like 10 years had passed. Yeah, so working with Adrienne was fantastic. And we were having a little bit of a hard time finding our lead, Jessica. And we asked Adrienne for some recommendations. And Krista Flanagan for Mad Men and Man TV, which is more of a comedy background. It was great to see her come on board and bring her dramatic chops to it. And she was a great addition. And so the cast came together really well, really nicely.
Amazing.
I wanted to say something about the casting because, it was a little bit unconventional. Jeff wrote this and said, hey, I've got somebody who's perfect for this with Jack. And then you kind of go, I don't know, just because, you want to say, I wanted to pick the lead, that just as a creative. And Jack was not only, he was so good at this role. Like I'm really, really proud of what he brought to the table. And he had a different energy that he brought to the role than even just sort of meeting him in real life. And the same thing with Krista Flanagan. I knew of her. I had done an improv comedy feature years ago. I know people in that world. And I was like, I just couldn't see her outside of the comedic stuff. And this was a very dramatic, and she's got a big reveal and a big turn. And I was like, I don't see it. And she's really good as well. Like she's really brought it. So both of those were very sort of unconventional ways to cast, and really elevated the project, in my opinion.
Amazing. Well, kudos to both of you for taking that risk, right?
Thank you.
So, well, Peter, Paul, I got you. Just, are there any like memorable moments? Were there any really challenges? I mean, doing an action on a low budget is no easy feat. Did anything just like you tried it and it just didn't work and you had to work around?
I mean, doing an action sequences on a budget is difficult. And there was one sequence that I kind of like put my trust in our production designer. And he built, so there's a scene where our lead is with a sniper rifle on the top of a building, which we shot in my backyard.
But you don't want to do that without a permit anywhere.
we had a permit, Emily, of course, right, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Permit, sure.
We built the roof of a building in my backyard out of styrofoam. We placed our lead actor on a blue screen and then comped him into downtown Burbank with the hills behind us. And you'd be pretty hard pressed to know that we shot against a blue screen.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right on. You had a lot of free time during COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Getting it right.
And the kids are now playing like Godzilla on the top.
Well, I mean, it's always, I mean, I think filmmaking is always a bit of a leap of faith. I mean, the thing that I like to do is surround myself with people that I've worked with and that I kind of know what they're bringing to the table. And Sam Fellman had worked on a couple shorts of mine, and I knew what he could do. And he went above and beyond. There was a sequence, Jeff, you might remember this, where it was Krista's character gets taken away by the police. And we just used all our crew as the press, kind of shouting and trying to get their attention. And he took a piece of styrofoam he had left over, cut it out in the shape of a shoulder-mounted TV camera, and painted it black. And so we have a piece of styrofoam on one of our crew's shoulders, and it looks like we had a camera on set. It was, you know, a big movie news camera, and looks great. You'd never know.
We love the movie magic. Okay, this sounds awesome. This sounds really great. What would you guys like the audience to take away from this for after they've watched it? What are you hoping to share?
Well, certainly we want them to want more, you know, and the ending is set up, you know, to leave you, you know, waiting and wanting more. But just, you know, I think the audience will see some familiar elements of that, you know, vigilante anti-hero genre, but also they should also get the feel and the sense that, okay, this is going to be something different. You know, I have a psych background. I'm a social worker by day, you know, kind of thing, and I love the psychological elements, the underpinnings of things, you know, why people do what they do. And, you know, through this short, not only we're going to get a lot of action, we're going to continually get the psychological makeup of what makes this guy tick and why people are doing the things that they do. Right now, we live in an age of ends justifies the means, you know, to the 10th degree in terms of the polarization and the split, you know, in the world. And we're going to see that, you know, in our lead character, David Forin, who definitely thinks his ends justify his means. And it's like, when you agree with his cause, you'll probably agree with him. And when you don't, you won't. But we'll also get the psychology underneath it all.
Awesome.
I think for me, it was like getting the tone right, because it's a cat and mouse, especially our first episode, this short film. And as Jeff kind of touched on, he's an anti-hero. So an anti-hero is always a tough you know, line to thread, because he does stuff that you don't like, but then Jack is so likable, and Jack has so many great gotcha moments that you kind of cheer for him in spite of yourself. And there's times that you're on his side and times you're not on his side, times that he can be pretty brutal and times that he can be pretty suave and sexy. So that was, the tone was a thing for me as a director, you know, seeing where this thing could go. And I'm really proud of that. And look, it was there on the page. It was Jeff wrote it. I just had to bring it out. And I hope that you guys will come see it at the, when are we screening? On the first?
The third.
The third, Wednesday the 3rd in the Made in the 818. Yeah, Made in the 818 screening block.
You guys are opening night. That's like,
Yeah.
because the film festival is November 3rd to 7th.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so what's next for you guys? I know you want to get this out into the wide world, but are you working on anything else?
So currently I have another short film doing the festival rounds now that I was a writer, director, lead actor on. It's called It's Not Me, It's You. And it's about a couple in love whose relationship comes to a complete halt when one of them finds out that the other plans on voting for President Trump. This, you know, takes place 2 days before the election, you know, is the start of it. And yeah, so they're each in therapy trying to convince the therapist that the other is the problem. And it's doing pretty well. It's a comedy. It's a comedy with a point. And I'm currently in pre-production on a sequel to it.
Fantastic. Peter Paul?
I'm circling a small feature with an actor friend of mine who I've done, this will be like our 12th movie. And we're just in the infancy of starting to figure out what that's going to be. It's a relationship drama. During the pandemic, I was shooting a lot of title sequences and did a lot of trailer work, which is, keeping the lights on and keeping the creative juices going. And so it looks like there's some more work down the line for that, which is exciting. And yeah, I've got a couple series that I'm out there trying to pitch as well. Keeping the plates spinning. The balls. What's the metaphor? I don't know. Doing a lot of stuff at the same time. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Stirring lots of pots, keeping
There
the
you go.
plate spinning. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Well,
and,
Jeff Schubert,
just
Peter Paul Basler.
If I could
What?
jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
The head of the CIA, who is the cat to the Pragmatist mouse, is brilliantly played by Gregory Itzson of 24 and a million other shows you've seen him on.
Jeff Schubert, Peter Paul Basler, thank you so much for sitting down with me. The Valley Film Festival is November 3rd to 7th at the Lemley NoHo 7. The showtimes are listed below in the descriptions. So thank you guys for coming and congrats. We wish you all the success.
Oh, thank you so much, Emily. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Emily.